Happy New Year, YouTube. Lock and load ninjas, interwebs at large. Trying to do this without balancing this. I feel like I need to tell you that as far as this video, if you just watch the last one where it's the 19 versus the P10C, this is going to seem like a lot of the same information. And that's because they're basically the same guns, just bigger. But sometimes it's just fun to go out and shoot these videos and, you know, have a little fun with it. And the other part is that, the other part I need to tell you is that while I am sponsored on the radio show by CZ USA, these guns I pay for myself, and therefore they're not telling me what to say. I've been a big CZ fanboy for a long time, and you know, anyway, just for what it's worth. I started a bunch of stuff before the end of the year. I've still got a bunch of stuff that I haven't finished. And we got SHOT Show coming up, so let's see what we can get done. I decided to do a versus. I'm not a big versus kind of guy, but I decided to do a versus. So what would we have up? In this corner, we have the perennial champion, the Glock 17. This is where it all began. Not necessarily the striker-fired technology, because that started with the H&K VP70, but this is where main market saturation occurred with Glock 17. I don't know how many agencies carry this gun. I don't know how many agencies have carried it, are going to carry it, whatever. This is the service pistol. They do make a bigger one called the Glock 34, but for all intents and purposes, this would be the duty pistol, service pistol kind of gun. This one is a Gen 4. We've seen it, we've talked about this one before. It has a agency arms trigger. It has Tridge night sights on it. Still has the finger grooves in it. Doesn't bother me that much. I got this used, so it came already sort of worn in. A very nice pistol. But in a lot of ways, this is, well, with the exception of the finger grooves, this is the way the gun was with the Gen 1 and the Gen 2. I mean, I started buying Glocks in 1990, and the first Glock I picked up was a Gen 2. And so these, at this particular point, had not changed that much. Gen 5, I've seen some really good improvements, but this is the standard by which all guns of this type are measured. And then, in the black and white corner, we have the CZ P10F. Now this one, for all the look of it being so extensively modified, this came optics ready, so I just unscrewed this plate and put this Delta Point Pro on it. It does have a nice Cerakote from Ace Firearms in digital camouflage, just because I wanted it. And that's it. That's the extent of the modifications. The Glock is actually more modified than this gun is. Out of the gate with the CZ P10C, CZ did a few things where they looked at the P10C and made a few revisions to it, and then they all translated to the P10F and the P10S. So this gun is their duty gun. Now this gun is decidedly larger than the Glock 17. If you look at the trigger guards on these, and the trigger guards are important because duty occurs in all kinds of environments. And so if you're wearing gloves, a bigger trigger guard will come in handy. At the grip or the frame of the gun, this one is a little longer than this one, but this comes standard with 17 round magazines, and this one comes standard with 19 round magazines. It was not till the Gen 5 with Glock that I began to, the Gen 5 triggers in the Glocks to me are a little more crisp than the 1, 2, 3, 4s. One of the reasons I picked this up is because it had the agency arms trigger in it. So now the triggers are better. The CZ P10 series, I don't know if it's because it's straight. I don't know if it's because they studied the Glock trigger extensively. Whatever reason it is better out of the box. I can't think of anything that I would want to do with it. I certainly wouldn't replace it. There are a couple of things about both these guns. With both of these, I get Glock knuckle. I get Glock knuckle shooting both of them. Although this one does have a little bit of it, a little bit of the undercut done, whereas this one, and the Glock does too. But first thing most people do with Glocks is bevel out the interior to make of the trigger guard to make it a little bit bigger. So we don't need to modify that on this one. So this just comes down to which of these two guns is the better gun. Well, if the proof's in the pudding, then in the case of guns, the proof is going to be on the range. So let's go take care of that. Let's go look at that real quick. I would say that speaks for itself, except it doesn't really speak for itself, does it? Because once we get past the first blush of a gun, then we're getting into practical application. Now, this setup is more accurate. This has to do with the locking mechanism and everything else. It's bigger, it's heavier. And it is. It's a heavier gun, and it's a more precise gun. This gun is smaller, it weighs less, and it doesn't have the lockup mechanism in it. But this has been tested over and over and over again for, 30 plus years now in law enforcement. It's been used in certain military applications. I mean, it's out there, it's happening. I mean, Glock is happening, it's still happening today. But out of the box, unlike Gens 1, 2, 3, and 4 of Glock, out of the box, the CZ P10 series doesn't need any modification. So that's just the tail of the tape. You know, I've gone over the specs of these numerous times. I'm not going to do it again. The one big takeaway, and one of the reasons this is more accurate for me than the Glock is grip angle. Grip angle, 22 degrees, 18 degrees. This is more akin to the 1911 grip angle, where this is the totally unique Glock grip angle. So, practical applications, which for me, that is how easy can I shoot the gun. I ran 1911s in the military for 7 years. Then I carried Glocks for the most part, from 1992 to 2016. So I can shoot a Glock. But along the way, I began to understand that there was more out there available than just that solution. which when CZ came out with the P10F, the P10C, the P10S, that was one of those earth-shaking moments for me. Now, CZ makes a lot of different guns. They do a lot of research and development and everything else, and so they've been a lot of places. And with hammer-fired guns, semi-automatic rifles, bolt-action rifles, shotguns, all these things, they have mastered putting together a world-class pistol. Double action, single action only. Dan Wesson, they've got the Dan Wesson DWX coming out, which is sort of this odd mismatch, of the CZ Shadow and the Dan Wesson firing mechanism. So they continue to be very innovative and always out of the box. Glock makes one gun, essentially, in different calibers and different sizes. From the standpoint of getting a gun and snatching it out of the box, right? And then it becomes a matter of ergonomics. Do these ergonomics work for you? The way this gun is set up to be compact, small. It's set up to be rounded in certain places. So if you're snatching it out of concealment, it's set up to be ready to shoot right out of the box. A lot of guns didn't do that in 1985, 1989, 1993. A lot of guns were not doing that. Glock led the way, and their guns have a lot of application today. But the field is getting crowded. This will come down to a few things. When you're picking up the gun, gripping the gun, all these other things, there's going to be some things you're going to notice. This gun rides high with a low bore axis. It does not have the familiar CZ with the rail inside the frame. This is actually outside. The slide is out. The rails on the slide are outside the frame. It's not like the typical double action, single action pistols they have. The setup that they've come up with, the lockup mechanism they've come up with, is tight, and it is built to a high precise standard. The sights that come with the gun are aluminum. You can get them optics ready. I think the optics ready guns go for $579, and which is less, because I just bought an optics ready Glock 19 5th gen, and it was $620. So as far as what they're designed to do, I think they're designed to do the same thing. It just comes down to what you want to carry. These magazines that go in these guns now, the magazines that work in this gun will work in the CZ P10C, they'll work in the CZ P10S, they'll work in the CZ P09, and they'll work in the CZ P07. They've gotten the memo. Just like Glock, where all the magazines work in all the guns if it's the right caliber. So for all of you that have Glocks, do you need to get rid of those guns and go out and buy something new? No. No, you don't. Not if you're heavily invested into the Glock ecosystem. If you got the holsters, if you got the magazines and all the other stuff, you've trained with it. No, you don't need to. Unless you want to up the game. If you're looking maybe to be competitive and you want to get outside of the Glock Shooting Sports Federation or wherever you shoot, then you're going to want to look for something that's a little more accurate. And at the price point, there is no. I've heard more than one guy say that the best shooting striker fired gun they've ever fired is the CZ P10F. And it is, and it comes down to a matter of inches. This is not so much better than the Glock, to abandon the Glock. And this is not so, this has got a lot of third party aftermarket support. They're catching up. So what do you like? That's all it comes down to. If this confused you, if you're like, why did you shoot the video? I shot the video because I wanted to find out for myself, because I've carried Glocks for a long time. And only recently have I become disenchanted with them. And I've been persuaded by a couple of people to take a second look at them. I am. And I'd like a little input if you wouldn't mind helping me out. Give me your thoughts and comments right down here at the, in the comments. When it comes down to which gun is better, I think it comes down to you. I think that comes down to you. These have certain standards and certain things that make them slightly unique, and at the same time they have similarities that make them so much better. If you're looking for a lot of bang for the buck, I say CZ P10F. If you're looking for a gun that is so established that you can probably find something for it at a CVS or a Walgreens, and yes, I am exaggerating, then you're probably going to want to go for a Glock. And either way, whatever you go with, whatever you buy, go train with it, go practice with it, and carry whatever it is you're going to get. If you like this kind of content, and I hope you do, maybe give me a thumbs up, maybe subscribe. Getting ready to go to SHOT Show. Going to be hanging out with a bunch of people. So stay tuned for that. I got something coming up with the P10C and the Glock 19. I got a great gun belt coming your way. So stay tuned. I'm done.